So I think there are two main problems in the anime analysis community as it exists today, or just analysis communities in general, and that's lack of experience in terms of things that you've actually done. Most people who tend to be in the analysis community, including myself, although I have a lot of very weird experiences that no one else seems to have, no matter how many people I meet, I have a lack of experience in comparison to people who have lived longer than me. You could say I have a lot of experience for someone of my age just because of the strange circumstances that I've come from at various points, but I have a lack of experience. And a lack of academic or what do we say, literature that people have consumed. And so what you end up with are people repeating the same kind of basic points, or just redescribing the plot, reframing the plot of an existing work, and not adding anything to it. You could perhaps educate someone about film theory or the more complex sides of filmmaking, maybe talk about the history, do a huge data breakdown. These things are all good, they're all educational, but I think where people need to be going a step beyond the current paradigms that are in place are in releasing videos about the philosophy behind shows. Because with philosophy, there's an infinite amount of things that you can say. Like, I'm looking at my desk right now, and I have stacks and stacks of books, many of which are about philosophy. They're a bit thicker, they're a bit harder to get through because of the very specific language that's being used, and as a result of that language being so specific, you sort of have to look up a lot of things and then think about how they're being framed in context. There's sometimes references to other philosophies, so if you don't have experience with that, you may not know exactly what they're trying to get across. But if you do, or if you're willing to look up the context, maybe check those footnotes, then you're going to end up, if you're conscious about what you're reading, with something that challenges your current preconceptions or allows you to better refine them. It's not like philosophy is something that you read and then just repeat whatever's being said. It's a tool to make yourself think. It's a tool to give more information to compare previous information to, and perhaps come away with something entirely new than what either thing that you're drawing from presented. It is a vehicle by which thought is exercised. It is not something that you're meant to repeat the ideas of. Maybe you agree with those ideas or like how they're explained and use those explanations as a way to better explain your own ideas that already mirror those ideas. Whatever the case may be, you have to be taking an analytical approach in order to actually apply, functionally speaking, philosophy to art and anime. Something that I'm not particularly good at, because I'm not particularly good at analyzing art. But I can recognize what I like in analysis videos, and I can recognize that I find the vast majority of analysis videos incredibly boring. And I think one of the main ways to mitigate this issue is just to read more. It's to explore more ideas. It's to challenge yourself conceptually more, because we get very comfortable in our own beliefs, and the process of trying to make an argument against what you believe in your head 10 times better than the argument that you currently have for your own beliefs is something that deeply scares people. But if you read someone like Dostoevsky, for example, that's basically what most of his work is. It's having one character argue something that Dostoevsky himself may completely disagree with, but as a thought experiment, he's exploring the psychology of that character through having him explain his worldview. Um, about a week ago, I want to say, maybe it was more, I read Notes from Underground, which is an amazing book. The 1800s language gets me sometimes. It's a little bit annoying to read, not gonna lie. It's a bit of a laborious process, but it is, like, philosophically speaking, and in terms of just like the density of the character, really really good. You very much get the sense that this is a real person explaining their views. That character goes from, like, being this just underground sort of neat archetype as we would consider them today, to being a completely well-rounded and fully explained, thoroughly analyzed character. And in order to do that, in order to present a character's motivations through just like ranting, which is most of what the book is, it's like events happen and he just rants. And so when you have all of this self-analysis, you have to take yourself out of your own worldview in order to produce something like that. You have to detach yourself from what you really think and then consider how other ideas operate. And often in some of his books, you'll see his philosophy being mirrored that by a character, and then another character will argue against his philosophy, Dostoevsky, better. And so that ability to create characters that are against you, or as a thought experiment, believe something different, and then being able to not make them into straw mans, but make them into people who are potentially better than the way you present your own arguments is really, really important. Because if you don't do that, then you're just basing all of your arguments off misrepresentations of what the other person believes. In order to really strengthen your own arguments, you have to be able to challenge them. And that's one of the things that I've gotten out of reading, even though I haven't read nearly as much as perhaps some people watching this video. I can say that there are ideas that I've had that turned out to be completely wrong, because I explored other ideas from other people, and maybe I didn't completely mirror what they said, but I ended up seeing a different perspective that allowed me to critique my own perspective in my own way. And so you have to be constantly interfacing with new information and learning new things, challenging your own way of thinking in order to apply something really interesting to art. Because so much of what's in the analysis sphere is not thinking. It's repeating what's already been said, repeating what's explicit or implicit within the work, and not going beyond that, not going deeper, and that's why it's really boring, because it doesn't make me think.